Today on the Cardinal Sports Network, we bring you boys varsity tennis as Lawrence takes on West Windsor-Plainsboro South. Now, I'm joined today by Coach Krajunas, who's going to be helping with the announcing today. Who are we seeing from Lawrence today, Coach?
So for the doubles team, this is our first doubles team. Up at the net is Suraj Kura, and then at the baseline serving right now is Rishi Kodamaraju.
Okay, there goes the first serve, and he found the net with that one, but he gets another try.
It's our first match, so still dusting off some old muscle memory.
Yes, I heard you talking to the players before the match started, and you made a comment about you had 2 years to get ready for this one. What was that about?
Yeah, so we had obviously lost our spring season last year due to the pandemic, as all the other spring teams did. So it's definitely been an exciting day, and even an exciting season, just being back and being able to play, win or lose.
All right, on the other side of the net, the West Windsor-Plainsboro South players, we've got Nirbon Makan and Tej Murthy.
So now I believe it's 15 all. Rishi had a good first serve, I believe. Or I'm sorry, a good second serve last point, and then we sent a ball into the net before that. So another good serve.
Okay, and you are watching LTPS TV, where you're seeing boys varsity tennis. First doubles match. Yeah, that one went a little wide.
Yep. Be a little bit tight or nerves. The team that Lawrence is playing today, West Windsor South, is a very, very strong team. And so definitely nerves are a little bit high today.
I'd like to point out to the viewers at home that it's a very windy day. It's nice temperature, but very windy. How does that affect the players?
So they need to be a little bit careful on their serve. So when they toss the ball into the air, wind can kind of take it a little bit, so they need to account for that. You can always catch that ball and pull it back in if they need to. And then obviously with the higher lobs or any kind of time the ball is really in the air for any significant amount of time, obviously the wind can carry it, to the left, to the right, carry it to the net or, beyond the court. And so trying to adapt as they change sides and all that is going to be very important.
That was a good play at the net there by Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
That was close to being in.
Yeah. Get the second one in. It's kind of tough for tennis. Now the players are all responsible for their own scores. Until you get to the higher level tournaments, there's really no referees or umpires kind of keeping track of everything for you.
Yes, they have to do quite a lot. In addition to playing and being their own referees, they're also being their own ball boys out there.
Yeah.
Busy schedule for the tennis players. And that was a point for Lawrence, wasn't it?
I believe so.
There, we see a little bit of that ball boy
You're
duty.
watching the Cardinal Sports Network here on LTPS TV.
good play at the net.
Yeah, I think they're calling that serve out, I believe.
Ah.
But he gets it right back.
That seems to have energized him a little.
Any little bit we can take.
Absolutely. And that one was out on Lawrence, wasn't it?
That's correct. Now, if anybody's new to tennis, for the games they have to win by 2 points. So I think in this particular game, they've reached kind of a tie, and now they're trying to win by those 2 points. And so they keep kind of going back and forth, trading points, but nobody seems to really get the advantage yet.
Yes, I've seen some of these where that can go on for quite a while.
Yeah, if I recall, this one was quite a long first game. Strong serve from Rishi to, again, level it. If you look on the court on the left, you see that the score is already 1-0. So the other court has finished their first game and are in their second or third, whereas these guys are still in their first, just to give you some sights of how long it's taking them. Which is a good thing.
Yes, we've done several of these in past years where the first doubles team will be the only group playing at the end of a match.
The good thing is that Rishi has had time to warm up his serve by having to serve so many times.
And once again, a little ball boy duty there.
Yeah.
They also have to deal with balls that occasionally come in from the other court, don't they?
Yeah, now, so this year is obviously with the pandemic, we have kind of different restrictions on everything, and so for tennis, let this point play out first. What happens? That was a nice shot. So
Yeah,
for
good.
tennis, every team has, so every position has their own cannonballs. So Rishi and Suraj have their own cannonballs, and West Windsor's South team has their own cannonballs, and they're all labeled. And the rule is that you're not supposed to touch the other team's labeled tennis balls. Trying to take every precaution to make sure that there is no issues and we can have as full of a season as possible.
Yes, that's something we've all had to deal with. The swim team actually had to do their meets virtually, where the Lawrence swimmers were in the Lawrence pool, and whatever team they were swimming against was in a different pool altogether.
Wish we would have that. What does that look like in tennis?
Yeah, right now
Not
in
quite.
tennis, we're seeing creature feature.
Yeah.
Yes, they weren't able to do wrestling virtually.
No,
Couldn't quite figure that one out.
it's a shame.
We just, a couple weeks ago, did a live outdoor wrestling meet, which is, I believe, the first time that's ever happened at Lawrence High School.
It was fun to drive by and see. Now the other court to their left has already changed again, so they finished their third game. on the left, and we are still in our first game here. Oh, and we just finished.
You're watching the Cardinal Sports Network here on LTBS TV.
Even when the score is not maybe the result that you are looking for, it's still always nice to take a top team like South and kind of push them to, make them really have to earn that win.
Now for the West Windsor Pirates, we've got Tej Murthy serving. Little strategy conference going on there.
Yeah. Always good to communicate what went well, what can we do better. Build from there.
A little too much energy on that one.
She's excited. Sometimes we find that the players, kind of change drastically from one set to another. They have to play a best of 3 sets, and by the second or even third set, they've slowly kind of settled down and kind of see their true potential, I guess, at the end there. So let's hope they can warm up.
Yes, this game is largely about the serves, isn't it?
Yeah, especially at this first doubles level, a strong first serve can kind of set up the whole point. It can kind of dictate who's in charge at that point, who's having to be a little bit more offensive, and who's having to be a little bit more defensive.
Now the players that are serving get 2 attempts to get it across the net, and when they don't make it on the first attempt, you tend to back off a little bit and make sure it goes in, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you want to definitely protect that point as much as you can. So keeping that ball in play as best you can, especially for that second serve. Saw what a close
You're
game
watching the Cardinal Sports Network here on LTBS TV.
Saw what a close game the first point was, saw how close the first game was. Excuse me. Very important to protect your serve. You don't want to give away any points.
Just a hair long.
Unhappy with that call, but
Well, as you said, they have to do the judging themselves.
yeah, very difficult for another team to have to focus on playing the ball and also have to focus on calling the right shot. Sometimes it doesn't always, work out that great.
I'd say overall, they do a very good job of it.
Absolutely. No, we have good faith in our team to call the right shots, and as well as the opponent.
And there's usually a good deal of good sportsmanship between the 2 teams as well.
Absolutely. There's Siraj, who's serving right now.
Another strategy session there as they try and gather enough balls to continue the game.
Sometimes it can just help to use that as a little bit of a 30-second break, refocus, and get ready for the next point.
That was a good serve. That point did not go to Lawrence.
You got it. Good job.
It's nice to see the teamsmanship there. We've seen both teams touching the rackets, congratulating each other on good plays.
It's been a little bit tough for them without the, ability to, physically touch. Usually we would start our matches with a list of handshakes and, we're announcing everybody and all that. And it's been tough for the players, to kind of lose that personal connection, but they're doing whatever they can do.
I think it's great that they're able to play at all.
Yeah, no, we'll gladly sacrifice, one thing for another.
You're watching the Cardinal Sports Network here on LTBS TV.
So we've got 3-0 right now in favor of Westminster South.
Plenty of game left, though.
Absolutely. So they keep alternating servers.
Serving for the Pirates is Nurban Makin.
He's a little bit of a slower serve, but has a lot of spin on it, which can make it very difficult coming off the racket for Lawrence at least. You can see they're sending quite a few long. I believe South took that game. Now we're at Love 4. Usually we announce the serving team first. Rishi had just double faulted, which will put us at Love 15. Good first serve. He's in position. Siraj. But sent the ball just a little bit wide.
Yeah, that one kind of got away from him. I like the practice swings that they do afterwards. Try and relive the shot.
Any work that they could put in, they should be doing. So we got Love 30.
Oh, that was a good play.
Yep, excellent get by Siraj. Get a little bit closer with 15-30.
Ball rolling toward the court.
Of course.
That was a good play by both of them.
Yep. Siraj kind of floating in the middle there, hoping that the ball doesn't go its way, and it pays off, which is great. So got 30 all. 30-30.
I couldn't quite tell. Was that out or?
Looks like South sent that ball into the net, but I think, yeah, not usually. I guess because they're changing sides, we know that calling that ball good. We got 40-30.
Okay.
It's a big game point. A little long. Second try. Now we're tied again. And they're back trying to win by 2 points. first ball just a little wide. Excellent shot by Siraj, puts them back in the game.
Yeah, I think when you see the score go back and forth like that for the win on each game, it's a sign that you've got two rather evenly matched teams.
Yeah, it's always good to see, and to be evenly matched with a very strong team like West Windsor South is a good feeling for them to start the season. Occasionally there's a miscommunication with, was it in, was it out? So as the players are still deliberating that amongst each other, they still kind of play out the point because they don't want to stop playing and be wrong.
That's a good strategy. Another nice play up there close to the net. Now, what is the ruling as far as spectators for these events?
So we've been generally given just, remaining, keeping our distance, really trying to limit the spectators to family. Now, tennis usually doesn't get many spectators as it is, which is kind of something that we haven't really had to worry about very much. But they do try to limit it to family. We do have spots all kind of spaced out, 6 feet apart on our benches, and we do ask that any spectators kind of, respect the spacing, as well as, remaining quiet and trying to be respectful kind of throughout the points.
Challenging times for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the end of the game.
You're watching the
They're able to
Cardinal
pull that one
Sports
out, so we've
Network
got
here on
1-4
LTBS
in favor of West Windsor. And for a set, they play until 6. And again, it's a best of 3 sets.
Okay, Tej serving.
So we've got, I believe, Love 15. Could not quite get the call on that second one. Kind of trading backhands there. Looks like West Windsor lost that point.
Had an awkward swing there and almost went down.
So we're going to miss that first call, but we know we have at least a point for Lawrence. This point could be Love 30 or 15 all. Great serve, just sent long. So now at least a point apiece. There's no rule to how you have to stand in doubles, so you kind of see that West Windsor South on this serve is playing with 2 people in the back, playing a little bit more defensively, and then hoping to gain the advantage and take the net a little bit later.
Yes, that is different from what we usually see. We usually see one player up toward the net. And West Windsor electing not to do that.
You can see, if you have a particularly strong returner who you're serving against, you might not want to, you might want to both be playing a little bit defensively.
Kind of leaving the door open, though, if somebody just barely gets one over the net.
That's true, but you got to think about the risks they're willing to take.
I guess it comes up also partly to sizing up your opponent on what you expect them to do.
Mm-hmm. Looks like Sriracha had missed that one. Rishi tried to get a play on it, but simply sent that ball into the net as well.
He got a little hungry and over anxious.
So again, missing that first call. I know West Windsor is up at this point. Could be game point.
And that one's long.
Yeah, could be very difficult to trade those lobs back and forth. You want to hit a nice strong shot.
You're watching the Cardinal Sports Network here on LTBS TV.
You also have to be careful not to send that ball too long. See, that was the end of the game. Now back to Siraj's serve.
First serve was out.
Siraj is a senior for the team. He's been on Lawrence all 4 years.
Unfortunately, he missed his junior year due to the COVID shutdown.
Yes. On that ball out. And a second serve also out.
Yes, the COVID shutdown was really hard on the seniors last year, who ended up not even having their senior season.
The spring in particular, I know, was particularly devastated. There were some modifications for some sports in the winter, depending on how far into the playoffs they were playing. But we had, I think, maybe 2.5 weeks of practice for the spring. And then it was online communication for a little bit, and then the season was kind of over at that point. So we tried to encourage players to do what they could on their own in a safe way, but obviously not quite the same as practice, but hoping that they were going to have an eventual season.
I'm sure they're thrilled to be back today.
Another 2 cent long. Sometimes for your first match, things can be a little bit tight as you're playing. Pair that with a difficult opponent, and it's very easy to, get a little bit over anxious.
I think at this point it'd just be more important to get it into the box than to try and really ace the serve. And he'll go for 2 on that one as well. That was that game.
Yeah. So after dropping the previous game and then losing on Siraj's serve, that would be the end
You're
of
watching
the first
the Cardinal
set.
Sports Network here on LTBS TV.
First set score was 6-1 in favor of West Windsor. Try to talk to the players about, keeping their cool and trying to appreciate those points a little bit more.
So we've got Nirbon Macken serving now for West Windsor-Plainsboro South.
Lawrence sent the first ball into net, and after a second miss hit, it's 30 love in favor of West Windsor.
Nirbon serving again.
Siraj maybe feeling like he wanted to go on that, and then deciding not to.
That could be a little challenging with 2 different players on the court, trying to know when to go for it and when to let the other player have it.
Trying to communicate is essential, and try to give them some informal ways to do that, but
It can still be difficult.
oh, absolutely. And ideally through, playing together quite a bit, that can kind of become second nature.
Oh yes, I could see that.
Looks like he sent that ball just a little bit wide. Got 40 love.
I think that was a little long, wasn't it?
And it was. South is serving. Score of 40-15. Tennis, we have our 3 singles players playing in the very far courts. Kind of see them in the foreground. And then our 2 doubles players playing here, obviously. Or 2 doubles teams, excuse me.
Yes, for the viewers at home who are wondering why we always show the first doubles matches, it's because of the layout of the courts. The only
You're
access
watching
we
the
have.
Cardinal Sports Network here on LTBS TV.
The only access we have would be to shoot through the gate on the first doubles court. We are no longer allowed to put a camera on the singles courts at all.
Was there ever a time where that was done?
Yes. As a matter of fact, we used to be able to put a camera in the corner of the singles court. But official ruling is now they no longer allow that. We shot through the sides of the courts for a while, and then because of the wind, they put up the green burlap to stop the wind from affecting the balls. So
Sure.
kind of limited on what we're allowed to do anymore.
That's tough.
Well, we got a decent shot for the first doubles court.
Absolutely.
Now, when we were doing the girls' tennis in the spring season, the fall season, one of the other things we were watching was the sun going down while some of these matches were going, as this court has no lights.
Yeah. And especially for the girls in the fall, October, sun can start to set pretty quickly. So there are definitely a few matches that could get kind of called for darkness.
Yes, I don't think that's going to happen today.
No. Siraj and Rishi kind of talking, trying to settle each other down a little bit. Get ready for that next point. Send that ball just a little bit long.
I imagine they have to keep that ball off the court, among other reasons, so nobody trips on it.
Yeah, if the ball interferes, you could always do what's called a let, kind of basically a redo. But if you do not pick up a tennis ball and that ball affects the point in any way, that's actually the opponent's point.
Oh, that's good to know.
So, you should always clean your floors. It's an overhead by Siraj, gets them back in this game.
How does the Lawrence court compare to some of the courts your team encounters when they're on the road?
The Lawrence courts are a little bit interesting. You can see there's some darker lines on the court where it's kind of a fancy sort of tape to kind of seal up some cracks. But just wait for this. It's a little bit long there. But the courts themselves are in good shape. I've seen a lot of courts with cracks or bubbles. But we've got one of the nicer sets, I'd say. Nice old hard court. Actually, some schools with a little bit of a kind of softer court, a little bit better for the knees, which can be a little bit weird to play on. Actually, South was one of them.
Kind of like the rubberized surface we have on our track.
Almost a little bit like that, yeah. Maybe a little bit harder, but very similar kind of experience to playing. You definitely feel it as soon as you step on it, like a little spongy almost.
Well, on the international scene, we sometimes see the clay courts. Do you ever play on one of those?
We never do, but they are definitely fun to play. We got clay and grass and all sorts of things, but just all hard court for Mercer County.
I'm sure that makes things a little simpler than being on the same type of surface everywhere.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's funny, you would really see those differences at the very, very high level, but we try to tell the players, for some of them, they would have probably never known the difference.
I believe that was a point for Lawrence.
Seems to be on Rishi's serve. They keep trading points. Usually a little bit longer games, just like our first one.
Well, as a coach, does sitting here watching this game give you some points that you want to go over with your players in the future?
So we spend, you may not be able to tell from watching this, but we spend a lot of time working on our service and our second serves in particular. Some students are a little bit more stubborn, but through the match experience, slowly coming around to seeing the importance of that second serve. As you can see, when the games are so close, any point that you are giving away is going to be one that you wish you had back.
Absolutely.
He sends that ball into the net.
That was a little long.
As was that one. So now we're in this point of trying to win by 2. Call that like an advantage and a deuce. So when it's tied, it's called deuce. And then when it is when one team is up by a point, we would say it's either the advantage in, if it was the serving team, or advantage out, if it was the receiving team. So this would be advantage out.
Yes, I had someone asking me the other day about love.
Yeah, love means
You're watching
nothing.
the Cardinal Sports Network here on LTBS TV.
Well, don't say that on Valentine's Day.
No. It's good for a shirt.
No, I just told them that they were playing for the love of the game, not the points.
The strong first serve like that, usually we find the players both, especially the baseline player, playing a little bit closer to the net rather than playing a little bit more defensively. But obviously nothing is wrong with West Windsor's game right now, so who am I to criticize? They're playing excellently.
That is Tej Murthy who's serving now.
After a great serve on one side, and then Lawrence sending the ball a little bit long, should be at 30 love. Unsure what the call there was.
Yeah, that was a little strange. Interesting shoes there that Mirbon's wearing. It looks like he's got a mismatched pair, but it's actually that they're black on one side and white on the other.
Yeah.
Second serve.
A little bit long, it seemed.
Now Tej with the serve.
Great recovery.
Yes. And unlike a serve, that's actually legal to bounce off the top of the net and still
It is,
fall in
okay.
bounds. That was a great volley.
Excellent play by Rishi, putting that point away. Yeah, usually it's kind of customary. If you happen to win a point on a play like that, you kind of raise your racket as like a, not as an apology, but as a acknowledging that it was an unfortunate circumstance. Same if a player was ever struck by a ball.
I could see that happening very easily.
Yeah.
Would you happen to know how fast the ball can be going when somebody really lays into it?
I mean, at the professional level, I know that they can get their serves, you know, well over 110, 120.
You're watching the
At
Cardinal
our
Sports
level-
Network here on LTBS TV.
You know, maybe in the 60 range, especially, you know, with an overhead. It's an overhead ball where they're really smashing it, you know, maybe even a little bit faster. But it will bounce. It is just a tennis ball. Try to encourage them not to be too afraid of it. It's one of those unfortunate outcomes that we just kind of accept as a reality. We're going to get hit by that ball. Best to not be afraid of it.
Yes, we've had a few bounce off of the cameras over the years. And the camera operators.
Look no worse for the wear.
Nope.
Send that ball into the net.
Now Siraj serving.
Just clarifying which side he's on. Now, if he serves on the wrong side, it would be a fault. So don't want to get that wrong.
That would be an unfortunate way to lose a point.
Yeah. Rishi sent that ball into net. I believe we're at love 30. Call that ball out. And a second into the net. Really try to encourage the players to just kind of get out there and play. Keep that ball in, make the other team beat you, rather than you giving the points away in any kind of other way.
That sounds like a sound strategy.
On
You're
paper.
watching the Cardinal Sports Network here on LTBS TV.
Now we've got Nirbon serving for West Windsor-Plainsboro South.
As you can see, the second court on the left is wrapped up.
And we've still got a ways to go over here, don't we?
Ball's out. Lawrence's point.
Maybe you could explain the saying game, set, and match to our audience.
So on a match point, so the point that would decide the entire both sets, it's obviously game point because it's going to win the team that game. If it's going to win them the sixth game in the set, then it's also set point. And if it's going to win them 2 out of the 3 sets, that would make it match point. So it would be game point, match point, or game point, set point, and match point all in one.
Arguably the most important point of the match.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they all matter, don't they?
If you're seeing points where the players had 7 match points.
That was a good play there at the net.
Yeah, now it was interesting. The ball left Siraj's racket with such spin that when it landed on West Windsor's south side of the court, it spun back over to Lawrence's side of the court. Virtually impossible for them to have played it.
Yes, that was very good play. That one kind of dropped down there and caught him short too.
Yeah, excellent spin shots. And all it takes is a couple of points, build some confidence. There's some interesting matches on this day. First singles, who you could see kind of playing behind these two, went to a tiebreak. Second singles, which is also playing behind these two, went to a 10-point tiebreak. Where down at 1 point, 5-1, the Lawrence player had kind of rallied back to win at 10-5, so he won 9 points in a row.
Oh,
So
that
kind
sounds
of
very
pulled-
exciting.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch, and a well-deserved win. Got 2 balls into the net for Lawrence.
Maybe they need a shorter net. I'm assuming that is something that's regulated by rules as to the height of the net.
Yeah, I don't know off of the top of my head, but I do believe that it's 3 inches different than the post. So if you see the post and then you see that strap, should be a difference of maybe not 3 inches, but at least an inch or a couple of inches.
Well, that was a good volley for a while there.
Yeah, it's always good to keep the rally going, make the other
You're
point.
watching the Cardinal Sports Network here on LTBS TV.
Always good to keep that rally going and make the other team win that point. So they're getting on the board, feels good for them.
Four games to 1 at this point.
Mm-hmm. So with South winning that first set, and then with South being up in this set, pressure is on Lawrence to find a way to answer.
Well, after having pretty much 2 years off, you would kind of expect that they would be getting better and better as they get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, that's always our hope, is that, you know, don't judge us by our first match, but really by how we are in June. But, you know, it can be difficult because on one hand, these tennis players are told, you know, to maintain their distancing and to do all these precautions to stay safe. But then the reality of tennis is you do need somebody to play with usually, unless you have a wall.
Yes.
So it could be difficult to find time to practice, especially in the beginning when there was so much that was unknown about our situation.
Yes, we've been learning as we go on that.
Mm-hmm. Good serve from Rishi.
Shadow's getting a little longer here now. Still plenty of daylight left.
Mm-hmm. We're at one court very recently where the shadow was just covering 1/2 of one side of the court.
Well, that could make things difficult.
So yeah, watching the ball travel in and out of the shadow could definitely lead to, you know, some mistiming shots, some calls that maybe were not good, maybe were good, but very difficult to kind of read where that ball is bouncing when your eyes are having to adjust to that.
I would imagine so.
Just a little bit long for Rishi.
Obviously, the physical aspect of this game can be tiring. How does the length of time affect the players as the match goes on and on?
Try to encourage the players to really, embrace that opportunity. If they're playing a long match, it means that they're evenly kind of paired with their opponent. But it really, in that third set, if it comes down to that, it really becomes a battle of wills and kind of who's going to outlast who.
Now, Lawrence is hoping to bring this one to the third set.
Yeah. Now, when our matches we have 5 positions playing at once. Excellent overhead for Siraj. Always best to put the ball completely out of play.
Yes, I've noticed that when there's a big lob like that, it's often tough for the players to return it just to get the timing right.
Mm-hmm. And there's only so much space you have to back up. So you could very easily be running into the fence trying to return a ball. Another excellent volley by Siraj at the net.
You're watching the Cardinal Sports Network here on LTBS TV.
And that was another game. This will be Tej Murthy serving.
I believe at this point we have it as 4-2 West Windsor as far as their games are concerned.
And he'll go over 2 on the serve that time.
A rare double fault. What's love, 15? Siraj able to put a little bit of pressure with that volley, forcing West Windsor to send that ball just a little bit wide. It's love 30 at this point.
Seems like the length of the game may be affecting the South players as well.
Mm-hmm. If you win the first set pretty comfortably, and then are winning the second set, and then start to lose control, it can be very difficult to kind of come back.
That was kind of a trick serve there, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's a kind of an underhand serve that you can use, a little bit different. Obviously a very easy ball to return, but its power is really in the surprise of not knowing when it's coming.
Yes. There's a point for South. How distracting are the cars driving by to the players?
I would like to think that they are having a little bit of tunnel vision. Of course, honking or when somebody's driving by and they see their friend playing, can always be a little bit of a scene.
I would imagine so. Fortunately, we haven't had any of that this game or this match.
Rare error from South. Leave puts our score at 4-3 in favor of West Windsor.
You're watching the Cardinal Sports Network here on LTBS TV.
Siraj serving. Good position to be in for the Cardinals.
That one was just a little long.
I believe so. Usually the calls are made by the players, nice and loud. When it's not happening, try to just go off the body language. Looked a little long as well. Second serve. Strong second serve. Put them back in the game at 15 all.
How much maintenance do the players have to do to their rackets?
So occasionally, we'll see a player, break their strings on a ball. It's kind of traditionally happens with players who put a little bit more spin on the ball, but it could happen to anybody. Try to encourage them to always have the backup racket ready. That's why you see all those bags kind of handy and ready to go. With sweat from the palm, sometimes it's always nice to re-grip your racket, kind of taking the tape off at the handle and getting that all together again.
Yes, I actually heard one of your players talking about getting a racket restrung shortly before the beginning of this event.
Yeah, there's a little bit of forgot all about that. There's a little bit of an issue with someone had broken their racket strings a day or two before, and just having to navigate getting it restrung quickly and timely to be able to have it ready for today, because occasionally you drop it off somewhere and you hope that it's going to come back in time.
Is there any problem with the strings just losing a little bit of tension and going soft?
We don't see that a bunch. Generally, the tennis players, I think, are wearing through the strings at a rate that's faster than the tension can really be lost. But I do suppose, if you had a racket sitting in a garage for a while, could happen.
Pretty durable items.
Yeah.
During warm-ups, I heard a couple of the players talking about this ball or that ball.
You're watching
dead.
the Cardinal Sports Network here on LTBS
the
TV.
balls. Now the balls are a totally different story. Those, we have our our fall season, and kind of store all the balls in a bin that's just off this court actually. And then by the spring, we find that a lot of them we're having to, kind of toss out, because the balls will definitely lose a little bit of something. That's why actually every game, all the players get a new can of balls.
Oh, that's
every
good to
match.
know.
Excuse me.
This program's educational.
There you go. Very tough. So where Siraj is standing is nearly at the fence. It's very difficult to make a play on a ball when you are that far back.
It looked like he had to jump just to get to it.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of an unlucky play for West Windsor. But Siraj kind of bailed them out at the net there.
Nirvan serving.
And I believe that West Windsor is now serving for the match.
That looked like one of those moments you talked about with communication.
Yeah. And after that point, I know they kind of spoke to each other, trying to communicate a little bit more about being on the same page.
Ow.
Ball looked a little bit long.
I would agree with that.
Second serve. believe that we sent that ball into the net.
That was a good play to cross it over to the other side of the court, though.
Mm-hmm. The issue with hitting that short ball is that you are inviting the other player to the net. And so if they're a strong net player, as Nirban is proving himself, it would be a very difficult place to be in. Excellent defensive play by West Windsor to keep themselves back in that point. And then Rishi sent it just a little bit long. So we got game, set, and match, West Windsor South.
Well, Coach, thank you for coming out and announcing with us today. And thanks to our audience for watching. Be sure to tune in again next time for more exciting Cardinal sports action on LTPS TV.